Hi, I'm C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So excited to have you here with me. We were off, well, no, we were here last week. My best friend joined us, and we made Bahamian corn fritters that were delicious. And I've seen a few of you have tagged me and shown me that you've made those, and they're picture perfect. And I'm assuming that they're palette perfect as well. So thank you. Thank you for actually taking on the charge and making these recipes, making them your own. And I'm sure in doing so, you're realizing that it's not difficult. We've got so many great recipes. We try to keep them easy for you so you can do them. We get these done in about 30 minutes. So it should never take that long unless it's something that has to go into the oven. So the prep time typically takes 30 minutes or less. So this evening, what we are going to make are Buddha bowls. I don't know how many of you have heard of them, but I would say probably about 4 years ago or so, I started hearing about Buddha bowls, Buddha bowls, Buddha bowls. And I really didn't know what they were, but I would order them and I enjoyed them. Well, I should say I didn't know what the origins of that name was. And I have since learned that a Buddha bowl is named that because it's a vegetarian bowl. It's a vegetarian bowl. It's typically served in a bowl or in a plate with high sides, which sounds to me like a bowl. Um, and Buddhists are known for being vegetarians, and that's how it got its name. Some people say that it's full and it's overflowing like Buddha's belly. I don't know. So we're doing a version of that. We're not going to call it a Buddha bowl. What can we call it? Somebody give me a suggestion of what we could call it, but it's based on Buddha bowl. Well, this Buddha bowl, what's going to be so different about it this evening is we're taking it to the diaspora. Now, you all know that I am completely enchanted with the African diaspora and all that it's the culinary world. And so this Buddha bowl is going to have several different components that celebrate the African diaspora. So let's walk through them. The first is going to be kale. Oh, one other thing I have to add, the Buddha bowl is always served room temperature or cold. What's great about that is this means that when you come home in the evening, whatever you've got stored in your refrigerator, you can put this together. You don't have to worry about warming things up. You can be eating in like 5-10 minutes, which I know for a lot of people, what messes us up is because we're really hungry, so we're grabbing things while we're preparing. You're not going to have that issue with this. So back to the bowl. Kale. Now, kale is something that's gotten very popular here in the US over the last 2 or 3 years. But let me tell you something, kale is huge on the continent. And in particular, where my stepmother Lillian is from, this is called Sukuma Wiki. And Sukuma Wiki means push the week. This is like the days of the week, not weak like you don't have any energy, but kale gives you great energy. So Sukuma Wiki means this is kind of the thing that you kind of stretch your food. If you're low on food, if you're low on money, Sukuma Wiki, that's what this is talking about. So we're going to use Sukuma Wiki. And yes, we're not going to cook it. Yes, it's going to be delicious. No, it's not going to be difficult to chew and digest. We're going to show you how to do that. So we have Sukuma Wiki here, which is kale. We have black-eyed peas. Now, these peas are basically a love song to the African diaspora. Found on the continent originally, they traveled to Brazil, they've traveled to the American South, they've traveled everywhere. In Nigeria in particular, black-eyed peas are used to make moi moi, which is a steamed pudding, savory pudding, which is delicious, one of my favorite things. It's also used to make akara, which is a fried black-eyed pea. It's like a puree, and it's fried and it's delicious. This same dish, akara, has traveled to Brazil and it's called acarajé. I think that's how you pronounce it, but it's very, very similar. They actually fry it in palm oil, which is completely West African. So that's our second ingredient. Our third ingredient is pumpkin. It's kabocha squash that I have cut up and roasted, oven roasted. It's this squash right here. And a lot of people call this pumpkin. They call it squash. It's quite interchangeable, but it's something that I grew up eating. Oftentimes on a West Indian table, it'll just be steamed and lightly seasoned. My best friend was here last week and she fixed dinner for us on Friday and she had some pumpkin on the table and it was delicious. So that's the next thing. The next thing that we have in there is a little bit of hummus. Now, hummus is North African. How did I make this African diaspora? Well, this is my maple jerk hummus. So we've gone to Jamaica with our hummus. We've used jerk, we've used a little bit of maple to kind of sweeten up that heat so it's not just heat. We also have some sun-dried tomatoes ground in here and some scallion. Delish. The next thing we're going to use is farro. Now, forgive me, I didn't study the origins of farro, but this is one of my favorite grains. And the reason why is it's an ancient grain. It is not gluten-free. So if you're trying to go gluten-free, you need to use something like quinoa. But this is what I love about farro is it cooks quickly and it has this great texture to it. The texture is it reminds me of barley a lot. It has a really great texture and it absorbs flavor easily. So when I cook this, I usually drop like a sprig of thyme in there, some fresh crushed garlic, and I let it cook and it completely infuses. So that's why I love to use that. The next thing I may use is a little bit of a cashew cheese drizzle. And this cashew cheese has a little pepper in it. So that's what's, come on. That's one of the major contributions that the continent has given is pepper. So that's in here. So the first thing that we're going to do, I'm going to show you how we're going to do these greens. These greens, we're going to break them down by massaging them. This is something that I learned to do. It is, not only does it tenderize the greens, but it actually starts the digestive process because your body doesn't have to work as hard to break it down. This is something that they talk about in macrobiotics. It's very, very popular, and you massage your greens. So that's what we're going to do. Well, I'm going to kick this up a notch. If you can go overhead now, I'm going to kick this up a notch. Not only are my greens sukuma wiki representing Kenya, but we are going to massage this with a little bit of palm oil. Palm oil is a superfood. Now, I like to use it in small portions because it is very high in fat. It's good fat, but you still want to keep it at a minimum. So we're just going to massage a little bit of this on the greens, and this is also going to go into our black beans because I'm going to zhuzh up the black beans a little bit. So what do we do? So for the kale, I have some fresh lemon, and I'm going to squeeze it over there. This is going to help to kind of chemically cook the kale without heat. So I've done that. Just a pinch of salt. The salt's going to help break it down as well. And just a slight drizzle of the palm oil. And you see how this looks now? Watch what happens as I massage it. And I can also let you know, when you do your kale, always if you want to take out the stalks. Stalks are only going to break down so much. So you may want to go through first and pick them out. But what happens when you massage the greens, you actually make the nutrients more bioavailable as well. Oops, there goes some of my stalks that came flying out on their own. Okay, so look at this. Look at how it has broken down already. So these are now tender and they're seasoned. They have flavor and they're very, very edible. So I'm going to go through here right now and take out the stalks. Quite a few of them in here. There's some of you who are hardcore, I'm sure, who will go for the stocks, who don't want to take it out, but I'm not that person. So we've got, okay, so we've got that done. Right, so there's our kale on the side. Wipe my hands off. The next thing that we're going to prepare are our black-eyed peas. So what you can do, you can soak these overnight. Black-eyed peas cook very, very quickly. So they're not laborious at all. Black-eyed peas, I also meant to mention, black-eyed peas are near and dear to me because in my mother's culture, she's from Guyana, these go into a cook-up rice, a black-eyed pea cook-up, and it's one of my favorite things. It's like the perfect dish. All you need is a spoon and your black-eyed pea cook-up, and you're ready to go. So here are my black-eyed peas. To this, I'm going to add a little bit of diced tomato. Here is a tip. When you use tomatoes, when you're cooking tomatoes and salads and things like that, it's best to take out the seeds because you don't want a whole bunch of liquid in your salad. You want the tomato, but you don't want all that liquid. So we're going to put some tomato in here. And you all know what I say about cutting. You want even pieces of everything so that you have consistency, and that when you take a bite, you get a bite of everything in one bite. I am literally obsessed with that. So that's in there. Now we're going to do a little bit of celery. And you all will notice that when I said what you would need for your Buddha bowl can be anything. It typically is some kind of green, some type of protein, either in the form of like beans or tofu, some kind of squash or something like that, and some kind of grain. So there's no perfect way to make it. It's just what works for you. And I'm putting this celery in because celery actually is one of the ways of getting salt, a salty flavor into your food without adding salt. And you know, I always talk about being careful with salt because people of color tend to have salt issues, high blood pressure, and things like that. Okay, so that's the second thing that's going in there. And the last thing that we're going to add here, in terms of veggies, going to be some scallions. I'm just going to cut. And drop that in there as well. Okay. And to this, we are going to, again, add a little bit of lemon juice. So I'm going to do this over my hand again so I catch any seeds if there are any. And it's just a good squeeze. That's probably like a tablespoon's worth. And again, as you make this, maybe you don't like lime. Maybe you don't like lemon. So maybe you add a little, just be creative. You could add any kind of citrus that you want to add to it. So we've got that there. I'm going to actually use a little bit of zest because I love the brightness that zest gives. So I'm going to add just a little bit of zest. You don't want to go too deep because if you get that white in there, that's kind of bitter. So you really just want the rind. Okay, we've got that and that. Now to this, we're going to add a little bit of red pepper flakes, one little bit of heat, not too much. Again, a little bit of salt. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of our palm oil. All right. I'm just going to mix this up. Palm oil has such a unique flavor to it. It is just, you know, you haven't cooked a dish from the diaspora. You haven't cooked a dish from the continent. You haven't cooked a West African dish unless you have palm oil. Palm oil is key, but we're keeping it healthy. We're not going to use too much of it. So let me just taste this. It's good. Very good. The palm oil kind of has a smokiness to it. Now, if you don't like smokiness, you may not like it, but I love it. Smoked meats and things like that are also very big on the continent. Okay, what time is it? It's 8:22 and we're ready to assemble our Buddha bowl. So we've got our massaged kale, we've got our black-eyed pea salad. Some people call it Texas caviar, but it's mama caviar, mama Africa caviar tonight. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna place my farro in the bowl. Just press it down a little bit. And this is gonna be a hearty Buddha bowl, because that's quite a bit. And we're just gonna add our kale to the side. And what's great about this is we've got all these different flavors going on in here. We're gonna add our black-eyed peas. Ooh, this is gonna be good. We've got our kabocha squash that I oven roasted. I tossed it with a little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt, a little bit of olive oil, and I roasted it for about 20 minutes. We're gonna put that right here next to that beautiful green kale. I love this kabocha squash. It almost has like a nutty flavor to it. It's my favorite squash ever. Favorite squash, favorite pumpkin. I told you how it's interchangeable. Okay. That looks good. I'm gonna put a little hummus here, right in the center. And the last thing I'm gonna add to this is my avocado. People that don't like avocado, something is wrong with y'all. Something is seriously wrong if you don't like it. I could literally eat avocado like every day. Literally. I'm gonna go in here, cut this avocado up. Just gonna cut a few slices. Let's cut them on an angle, and we're gonna fan them out. We're gonna put them right there. Oh, that looks good. And what am I gonna do next? Anybody who has followed me knows what I'm about to do next. I always talk about metals in our body. Cilantro and culantro are actually very, very popular on the continent as well. So not only am I staying true to the continent, but we're talking about health and we talk about metals and getting them out of your body. But before we do that, I'm gonna be a little greedy tonight and I'm gonna put a little bit of this spicy cashew cheese right across the top. I'm just gonna zig. So it is adding flavor, but it's also adding some color to it. Remember, we want to eat with our eyes as well as with our mouth. We want it to be appetizing visually and palate-wise. So the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to sprinkle this micro cilantro. I need to actually buy stock in this stuff. I love it so much. So ladies and gentlemen, here is our Buddha bowl. Can you see that? Can you see it? Farro, a black-eyed pea salad, massaged kale, maple jerk hummus, oven roasted squash, and slices of avocado. It's a little late for me to be eating, but trust me, this will be eaten tonight. Actually, I think I'm going to get started right now. So thank you all for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next week. Oh, we've already decided what we're going to fix next week. This is a request of Stan Mackey himself. We are going to be making pastelón. If anybody knows what that is, it is amazing. It is a lasagna that is Puerto Rican in origin. And instead of using pasta noodles, we're going to use sweet plantain slices. It is delicious. You all are going to be so excited to try it, to taste it. I'm pretty confident it's going to start to be in your rotation. That's going to be something that people are going to start to bring. Well, we're not doing potlucks anymore, not right now. But when potlucks are up and popping, you're going to be making that, and you'll be making it for your family as well. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for claiming your health. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for DMing me and sending me messages, tagging me in the pictures that you're making of the food. I appreciate it. And please let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you want to see. If I don't already have a recipe for it, I will create a recipe. We can work it out together. But please let me know what you would like to see. And I look forward to seeing you next week, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific.